Okay, there it is. All right. For this presentation, we were assigned the topic Children and Technology. Before we start, I want everyone to go ahead and go do this Padlet. The link is here on the PowerPoint. You're just going to answer the question about what you think technology is. So I'm going to open that up and show it. So as you can see here, Jacob, Drew, and myself have already completed this assignment. So if everyone will go ahead and pause right here and say what they think technology is, what it means to them, how they utilize it. Any thoughts about technology before we move on? Okay. So technology in general terms, it can be defined as methods, systems, and devices which are the result of scientific knowledge being used for practical purposes. In the educational setting, it can be defined as the study and ethical practice of facilitating learning and improving performance by creating, using, and managing appropriate technological processes and resources. So basically, in other words, technology just creates classrooms with digital learning tools that facilitate deeper learning for students. Why does technology matter to teachers? Well, the effective use of technology can increase student engagement, it can help teachers improve their lesson plans, and it can facilitate personalized learning or individualized learning. It can aid students in building essential 21st century skills, as we all know that in this world, we need to be able to use technology. It creates a more inclusive learning environment, which fosters collaboration. It enables teachers to collect data on student performance. So I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with iReady, but this is a math program that Gainesville City uses, and it individualizes math content for students each week. So some students will be on multiplication and addition or multiplication and division in first grade. Other kids will be working on base 10 numbers. It really just depends on where they're at and what supports or challenges they need. So that is one way that it helps teachers collect data. It shows them exactly where they're at and what they need help with still, or what challenges they do need in order to be successful. It provides easy to access information for students. It provides accelerated learning and fun opportunities to practice. Most students would rather play a math game than do a worksheet. I think most of us are like that. So why is it important? The top 10 reasons that students need technology in the classroom includes that it prepares students for future careers. As I mentioned before, in the 21st century, we all need to know how to use technology. That is a big issue that a lot of older people face in the world that we're living in now. So by them learning to use technology at a younger age, it prepares them for these future careers where they're going to use it. It helps support different learning styles, as I mentioned before. It differentiates instruction. So not only does it help to create challenges and supports for those students that need it, it also allows students to learn in ways that they want to learn. There's many different programs, there's different games, and students can choose what they want to do by using this technology. It leads to collaboration. It also improves digital citizenship. This is something that we'll talk about later, as we have to teach students how to be a good citizen on or while using technology. It helps to keep students engaged. So compared to doing a lecture in class, students are more likely to be engaged if you're using a smart board or a presentation than just standing in the front of the class and giving a lecture. It improves access to information. So we can get on our laptop and look up basically anything we want to know. If there's something that I don't know, such as a recipe, or I don't know something for one of my classes, I can just get on there and look it up. This is something that our students can do as well. The traditional passive learning model is broken. So as I mentioned before, we don't want to just stand up there and lecture. We don't want to hand out worksheets and stuff like that, because students don't want to do that. That's boring. Nobody wants to do that anymore. So by implementing technology, there's a new student-centered approach that we're trying to implement into our classrooms, to where students can be active in their own learning and they can explore new information on their own, and it's not just presented to them in the old traditional way. And lastly, technology transforms the learning experience as a whole.
Okay, so current teachers' technology usage, here we've listed some facts on basically the data of the rising technology in classes. It says 2/3 of teachers say that they use technology every day, and then less percentage, 22% use it a few times a week, and only 13% use it once or less per week. Over half the teachers report that their students use digital learning tools to learn every single day. And then about 7 in 10 students report using digital learning tools outside of school at least a few days a week. And 4 out of 10 would like to use digital learning tools to learn more often. So both teachers and students are increasing their uses in technology and favoring it as more effective ways to teach their lessons each and every day. How can technology be implemented into the classroom? So a common misconception is that technology in the classroom is a financial burden for school districts, as it's been a challenge to get Chromebooks for every student over a long period of time. I know that when I was in school, there was just certain amounts per room, and they weren't able to give access to each student their own Chromebook. But there are ways that we can still implement the use of technology without having every student use their own Chromebook. We can do PowerPoint videos. Kahoot is a game that many students, and you don't have to have everyone on their own computer to play this game. You can just have these questions up on the board while kids write answers on a whiteboard or raise their hands for certain answers. And in the classroom, there's also uses during lessons, like virtual manipulatives has been a big one that I've seen, is being able to show things to the whole class while being able to also help individually. And there's also simulations has been a growing use of technology in our modern classrooms, as it's easy to help students see things like field trips while staying in the classroom, but being able to give that 360 experience without having to have the funding to go other places. Technology implementation. It's different between grade levels. There's certainly different uses, but it can be effective at all age levels. In elementary rooms, interactive games to reinforce math, spelling, phonetic, and reading skills are useful. Like we mentioned before, our iReady for math is very popular. In the middle rooms, a big form of technology implementation is collecting research, like research, small papers, presentations, research topics. And in the high school rooms, it can become a lot more collaborative between students in group projects using spreadsheets, group presentations like this one, and sharing documents with one another. And how does technology implementation affect schools? So real quick, this study on the left briefly was about students that did or did not use apps for their reading instruction in a group of first graders. And they had found that the children that do use the apps and utilize it tend to do better, and it has a good impact on their reading ability as compared to the ones that did not. This can be largely due to, since technology is so widespread now, that it just grabs the attention of students much better than it does to have them sit down with a paper copy of a book. So it's a new effective learning environment for the students, and it's shown to be very effective in the younger ages.
So some issues with technology, a lot of them take place as they get older. So like for upper grades, like middle and high school, you start running into problems with like social media. A lot of students will find a way to get on social media, whether it's just slipping it under their desk and scrolling through it, or like when you break them up into small group assignments, you'll have some students that'll be stuck doing all the work while the others are scrolling through social media. A study showed that 90% of students from the age 13 to 17 are heavily involved in social media. And of the same group, 51% report to be on social media daily. So when students are given the opportunity to work together, a lot of times they'll get distracted and use social media to avoid doing work. In terms of like younger grades, typically students don't have like the access to social media like they do for middle and high school, but a lot of the issues you run into are just the learning curve of using the technology. Like I remember when I started my kinder placement, we have kids that are, I mean, we're already halfway through the year and we still just can't log into the computer. So that's just one of the big issues with technology. I mean, it's good to use technology, but once you learn that learning curve, then that's when you can really excel with it. So you can prevent issues by just limiting the amount of like phone use for upper grades. So instead of just having them use their phone for something, use a computer instead, because it's not easily accessible to get on social media on a computer like it is a phone. So you could stick them on a site and they could focus on that rather than having their phone right there. And a lot of schools have it implemented in their like computer lab sessions. The teacher can like monitor all the screens of the students and they can lock it down to where they can't leave the website. And that's a very good prevention to keep students on task. And some tips for teachers, tech tips for teachers is like when you plan your lesson, always make the learning objective the central focus. Like don't say, okay, I'm going to use Kahoot and then decide what your learning objective is. You need to decide what you're learning about first and then incorporate the technology in with your learning objectives. And I think it's good to give students choices of activities. I know there's in high school, we had to do several technology activities, and there's some I just hated with a passion. And a lot of times when you get like that, you just get frustrated with that and you don't want to do anything. So I think if you give students choices, then it's easier for them to get through their work. And another tip is just to start small, like don't try to incorporate 10 or 15 different technology things into your lesson plans if that's not for you. I'm not huge on technology right away, but I try to incorporate a little bit of it. And it's just easier to do one step at a time instead of throwing in 4 or 5 different things on the students. And another big tip, especially for elementary teachers, is like follow the ask three, then me rule. So the students can problem shoot with their peers. So you'll have kids that run into all kinds of problems, simple problems, and you've probably already went over the directions how to solve it already. But you always get that student that's not listening. So if you can have their peers help them out a little bit, it'll save you from having all the kids coming up to you. Hey, my computer lagged out. Hey, it kicked me off. What do I do? What do I do? So if you do like that, then you can get through a lot more work. And then I think the biggest tip for teachers is always have a plan B, because we all know how technology is. Sometimes it just doesn't go as planned. So if we have a plan B, then you're not stranded scrambling, running like a chicken with your head cut off. So right here, we have a little Google Docs survey. If you'll just like click on it, if the hyperlink works for you, if not, then you may just have to copy it and paste it into the browser. But just go through here and answer these questions.
Thank you.